Okay, so again, in an attempt to understand AI's capacity for photography and understanding styles, we will focus on famous photographers of the past and present, and today with one unknown photographer for now. We will ask AI to explain for the better or for the worse, and just please go check the sources, the real sources, and see this photographer's work after. Again, I will rely on Open AI, basically Dall-E for illustration and Open GPT for the historical data. But this time I will also use some of the capacities of Midjourney, another AI tool to create images from a text request. And yeah, so AI, could you please tell us more about this photographer's bio?
She was a French photographer, painter, and surrealist artist who was born in 1907 and died in 1997. She was the mistress and muse of Pablo Picasso, which began in the mid-1930s and lasted for nearly a decade. She was a constant presence in his life and art during that period, and she was one of the most important figures in the surrealist movement. She was also a successful photographer in her own right, known for her photographs of Paris and her surrealist-inspired photomontages. She was a member of the Surrealist group during the 1930s and 1940s, but her career as an artist faded somewhat in the later years of her life. She was a close friend of photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson, and the two of them became correspondents during the war. After the war, she withdrew from the artistic life, and it was only in the 1980s that she started to show her photographic works again.
Okay, so did you guess who that was? Ta-da! Dora Maar. Okay, so AI, can you please give us some more information on what makes her style different?
Dora Maar was a French photographer, painter, and surrealist artist known for her avant-garde and unconventional approach to photography. She was heavily influenced by the surrealist movement, and her work often reflects a similar aesthetic.
Okay, so interesting. We definitely see French city street with probably the Tour Eiffel in the window and on the left picture. Again, I make the request to Dall-E in that case, using the wording of Open GPT, of Chat GPT, sorry. And yeah, that's what we get. We definitely see the surrealist style coming out, black and white, definitely aesthetics from that period of time when she was taking pictures. We do feel that there's some collage, but that we've already seen in other weeks. It's also part of it seems like part of the AI process. Yeah, but yeah, still interesting. I'm not as convinced as the other weeks, but let's continue.
One of the key characteristics of her style is her use of experimentation with different techniques such as photomontage, multiple exposures, and solarization to create unique and striking images. She also frequently used symbolism and often employed elements of surprise and unexpectedness in her compositions.
Okay, so again, we do definitely see some grain, some feel of the time period. There is some, again, I'm using those words to do my request. We do see some multiple exposures. Not sure about solarization, but it definitely looks a bit surrealistic. I'm not sure it coincides with Dora Maar's style. However, there's something, but this time it seems a little bit far-fetched. But even so, it's still quite interesting, quite appealing to me. Yeah, let's continue.
Another key feature of her style is her focus on the female form and the use of women as her primary subject matter. Her portraits are often evocative and mysterious, capturing the complexity of the female identity in a way that was not always typical of the time.
Okay, so again, using the words given to me by ChatGPT for my requests, obviously here in both pictures, the woman subject comes out. And then we do definitely have some multi-exposure, even so I didn't put it inside the request. So there might be actually some references to Dora Maar's style. It does look of the period, as we've seen all the pictures until now are in black and white. So maybe some sepia on one of them. But yeah, so maybe there's something. I'm not as convinced as usual, but yeah, maybe something. So yeah. As we have an AI Dora available, maybe we could ask her for some custom creation. So could we have a group of women walking in the streets of a French city, surrounded by cheese shops in the summer, in the style inspired of photographer Dora Maar? Okay, and here are the two first pictures. That's from Dall-E. I'm not really sure it understood the cheese shops. We could imagine some cheese pieces on the left part of the left picture. It definitely looks like streets that could be in France. I'm probably projecting because I know the request. We're talking about France. We heard a few things, so we do have some context. But if I got rid of the text, would you guess it's France? Maybe, maybe not. Picture on the right, we could imagine a big piece of cheese on the woman on the right's bag. But otherwise, yeah, it doesn't really come out. Maybe the small sign on top of the shop on the left, on the picture on the right, maybe that's a piece of cheese. Hard to say. Let's look at the next ones. Okay, here I think it's a better representation of the woman in the streets. Again, I'm not really convinced Dall-E understood the cheese shops. Also, but when I do I phrase my requests. I'm not spending hours trying to super refine the request. I'm quite straightforward, using this text, this phrase I've cited before, this request. So I'm not going too much abroad. But here, yeah, we do have some surrealistic feel to it. Probably there is some inspiration of the style of Dora Maar, but apart from the period, which seems quite respected, it's hard to say. And yeah, a little bit disappointed this week. Yeah. And as I said before, that's two images now from Midjourney. Just to compare, another tool that creates virtual pictures. Here we definitely have something better in terms of, it's the same, I'm using the same request. We do have cheese shops, at least on the right, that's probably cheese, could be soap, but it looks like cheese. The women are actually holding some big pieces of yellow something that could be cheese. But yeah, and on the picture on the left, we have this woman holding or being attached to a platter of small cheeses, and probably a cheese shop in the back on the right. And here we can definitely see that probably Midjourney handles better the request of cheese shops. It understands women walking in streets that could be French. The texts are not in French. Is it extrapolating and trying to write in French? I don't know. A little bit disappointing too. And we definitely see that the overall look is very different in the rendering of Midjourney, between Midjourney and Dall-E. So we'll probably have to wait for next week to see if we can do better. And yeah, hopefully that was entertaining. Don't hesitate to put comments or post questions below. And yeah, see you next week.